Okay, into Dhyanam. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us, O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf. People of purified intellect are the drinkers. And the milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay. Open the eyes. This exploration of the gunas, Swami Chinmayananda translates gunas as moods. And that's a very helpful way to relate to them. Because we all experience moods. We say, I am this or I am that. It's not correct. We experience moods. But in the thick of it, it's very, very hard to recognize it. Usually we only recognize it after the fact. I was sad. I am sad. I am excited. I am feeling very good today. I'm clear, my head is clear, and I'm able to relate and I'm able to think. These are expressions of tamas and rajas and sattva. We're so deeply identified with them, though, that we tend not to catch it in these moments. And because of these are patterns, these are tendencies, etc., where in the mind, of course, they're not in soul, none of them are. In the mind, the tendency, sometimes we'll have a discussion about what does this path to union look like. And it looks like coming out of duality into unity. And that, maybe there's some idea of what that means, but it's like this. We experience a time, a set of experiences, an experiential state, where it seems like there are two, and the two are, I'm me, a unity, which will evaporate when you actually look at what you take to be you. If you really look at it carefully, you'll say, my God, I'm not a unity. Look at all these different ideas and moods, and 1 minute I'm angry, and then another minute I'm happy, and another moment I'm feeling hot, and another moment I'm feeling depressed, and we're not a unity inside, but it seems as if we are. It seems as if we are. And then there's you, who are either the object of my desire or the object of my scorn. And to different degrees, everything's like this. I like you or I don't like you. And it's not just the person, you see, it's every single object. And so it seems like we live in a world where there's me, and of course I want to be happy. Yes? Nothing wrong with that. I want to be happy. And there's me, and then there's everything else. And in this state, then I am one, and you are an other. Right? No unity there. Does that make sense? Duality. Me and you. Yes? Mano a mano, me and you. Huh?
Yeah.
This is an experience. This is an experience. But then, when you really begin to look at yourself, and of course life in this place is completely unsatisfactory. And the world will just have to teach us that. It doesn't, people can come to satsang, and if we're in this mode, we might as well just chant together. There's no need for this discourse. Chanting is better at that point. Which is why in some traditions, all they'll do is chant. All they'll do is sing, etc. Like that, yeah. Because when we live in this world, then I can hear, I need to look at myself, but then I just look at my own desires. I don't understand what it means to look at myself. Does that make sense? I feel, I want you, and okay, so I see myself, I want you. Self-love, yeah, I love myself. I want you. And when I need you, then I'll be happy. And you? No! You stay away from me. I don't want you. I don't want anything to do with you. But by the way, then I can decide, wait a second. Do I really know you well? Let me get to know you. And then, of course, compassion will come because now, oh, yeah, well, you're kind of like me. But that's still a duality. And we have moments of unity, but only with the object of our desire in this place. And then, okay, it's completely unsatisfactory, and so the world will show us that it's unsatisfactory. And then at some point, it'll be so unsatisfactory, we'll say, what is wrong with me? And which is a great revolution. And then when you look inside yourself, you see duality. Yes? Mm-hmm. If you really look inside yourself, you see duality. Yeah? You see, wait a second. One moment I'm this, and another moment I'm that. Is that duality?
Sure.
One moment I'm happy, one moment I'm sad. That's a dual situation, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh. So, and then you find that there are different voices inside yourself. And, we live in an age where we seem to have gotten so far away from this understanding. We don't even talk about our conscience very much anymore. We just feel like, societally, well, I need what I want. And the conscience voice, we do our best to stifle it. I have experience with this. I understand the subject. It doesn't make any sense to us, and everybody, all the signs outside are, well, you just get what you want, and that's gonna do it somehow. And want and don't want, it's the same. It's exactly the same. It's the same disease.
Yes.
Right? Want and don't want. It's not different. Whenever is talked about desires in the text, aversions is right there. It's the same. It doesn't make any difference. I want, I don't want is the same. It's the same thing. But now you see, wait, there's the voice of I want, I don't want inside of me. There's the self-centered nature, as Peace Pilgram would say. And then there is something higher, isn't there? Sorry?
Feels like it.
Feels like it, yeah. And so duality, once again. The discovery that I myself am two, at least. Right? So we move from one level of observation of duality, I'm a unity and you're an other, the object of my desire or my scorn, and then to, wait a second, there are these multiple voices within me. There is what we call ego, which is this feeling of being separate, alone, and incomplete. And there are these ideas coming within about what I need, what I want. And when you look closely, you see, oh my God, I'm spending my entire life evaluating what I want and what I don't want, and planning to get what I want and planning to avoid what I don't want. And so if you look closely, you say, I can't have this. Yes? So, and then we find that that this self-centered voice, I want, I need, I want to avoid, I want to be away from, apart from, fill in the blanks. Ashram, this person, that person. It's just the same old stuff, isn't it? I want it, and then I don't want it. Yeah? But then there's a voice inside also, representative, that says this is madness. Yes? Now, who is that? You see the piece of trash, and there's a voice that says pick it up, and then there are these voices that say, but I don't have time for it, and I don't. So we discovered that in fact we are disintegrated. We're two. And then the self-centered nature is in alliance somehow with all of these sense objects. So now it's not that it's me as a unity and you as another, it's within me are two factors, two forces. And of course all of the spiritual paths are founded upon this realization and how to come out of this place into a place of unity. So we come from duality being me and you, and then duality being me and me, and by the way, then there's not some other problem outside. We begin to see that. There's not some other problem outside. This problem is more than enough. It's more than enough. I don't need a problem outside. I don't have a problem outside. And at some point we actually realize, and all of this stuff outside is just to help me solve my problem inside. And then we do the work. We do the sadhana. We do the work. And this working, recognizing the moods and doing this work is the fundamental work of yoga. This is the fundamental work of yoga. It's the essential part of yoga. If you're not recognizing your own moods, the swings, if you're not seeing them at work, if you're not actively working to uplift and bring the moods back to sattva mood, back to the mood of clarity, back to the place of mental clarity and presence, if you're not actively doing that, then you're not a practicing yogi. That's fundamental. That's what it's about. I shared on Sunday when we were at some of us were at the Center for Spiritual Living in Prescott a week ago Sunday. Sorry, it wasn't actually then. It was this Monday when we were there before our Shivaratri celebration here. The first time I'd gone to that CSL in Prescott, I'd gone to the head minister's office, Kathleen. And I was sitting in the office and I looked and there was a sign on the wall. It was an old sign, and it was a sign that used to be in front of the building. Center for Spiritual Living used to be called Church of Religious Science. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. I had heard of it, I didn't make the connection. And on the sign it says, change your thoughts, change your life. Change your thoughts, change your life. Which is really the fundamental principle with every spiritual path. It's not about them. But look at within this mental factory, as soon as there's a difficulty, still, even though now you're practicing yogi and you're saying, I will make this change inside, look still at what comes up. They, she. Right? First thing. That's not according to what's happening, that's according to the mood in the mental factory. If the mood is sattva, then there's no other. Then you remember, Mother is doing this, or Lord is doing this. It's a test. I'm going to pass the test this time. And you remember it in the moment, when sattva is the predominant. But if it's rajas, then anger will arise immediately. And if it's tamas, then lethargy is there. But still there's another. Right? So this is why this study and the integration of the practice of working with these moods is fundamental, because otherwise there's not actually a way out of the madness. You know, we're having to learn to recognize what's working within our own psyche. And we're coming from it where we're used to working with all of the outside objects and seeing it from the perspective of the psyche. I want, I don't want, pretty, not pretty. Huh? But now we're looking to catch all of that arising, and what is the mood from which it is arising, and recognize it quickly and convert it. So that we have moments of clarity, each moment in clarity, instead of moments in passion, and moments in disgust, and moments in anger, and moments in fear, and moments in like this. So this is really the work. So this, as we're stepping through this, I mean, this is really the fundamental stuff of one's practice of yoga.
You saying that kind of making me think about like entertainment or TV, how it's all about just captivating those and bringing those out, how that may be a bad practice.
We don't say good or bad, but if you want to be free, if you're really recognizing that you want to be free, and if you recognize that what's preventing you from being free is within your own inner being, now you're really beginning to be equipped to do the work. And in which case you would see, this desire or this tendency is rajas. And that won't go anywhere good. Good being what? Freedom.
Doesn't serve.
Freedom. It doesn't serve. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve anybody like that. And that's really learning one's own patterns, moods, and all of this. The great mystery, of course, is, well, wait a second. I was living life where I was judging everything around me, and you can see according to my moods, right? Because one moment you had an interest in it, another moment you didn't have an interest in it. Yes? Do you see that's according to the moods? And in the moods, there's no rudder. In the moods, there's no rudder because the rudder itself continues to move, right?
The current.
Yeah. And everything's just blowing with the current. And so we don't get out of it. The miracle is that there is this capacity to begin to study the moods, to observe the moods, and to recognize the need to have those moods more in alignment with the steady rudder. And to recognize that there are tools and techniques and approaches with which to do this work. Now that is nothing other than the self, capital S self, working with the little s self. And it's done through conscious mind, etc. I mean, it's a miracle, and it's an impossibility if we were this mind. Right? So there is within you a capacity to observe this, to see it arising, and also capacity to recognize it and to recognize what's beneficial and recognize non-beneficial moods according to the circumstance, according to the situation arising, and have a tool set with which to actually tinker with them and change them. And again, it doesn't mean tamas is bad. When it's time for sleep, you want tamas. And you want it right now. You don't want to have to lie there for hours, rolling over the day over and over and over again. What should I have done? What should I have done in order to get hurt? I said the wrong thing. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to go there. You want to be able to live the day in sattva, bring the rajas when it's time to really grunt and put your back in it for the Lord, Today I have to lift a beam. I need some rajas. Come rajas, let's do this. And now, okay, the day is over. It's 11 p.m. So, how it is that we have the capacity to reorganize this is a mystery. It is a great mystery. It's the same mystery as you are. It's the same mystery as the singularity from which this universe arises. It's the same mystery, but it's a truth. The truth is we have the capacity to do it, and it's also not easy. So we really become our own psychologists. And through the understanding of this, and then employing the tools and techniques and approaches, then you conduct your own transformation. And then at some point you say, it was the light. But in the thick of it, from a practical sense, no, you're transforming yourself. It can't be anything other than that. Oh. Okay, so we pick up at 16. Let's look at 16. And here, again, continuing on these gunas, these moods, and then how they play out. What happens, or what is the fruit? So Lord Krishna says the fruit of good action, they say, is sattvic and pure. And verily the fruit of rajas is pain. And the fruit of tamas is ignorance. We'll read the commentary, and they actually go together. So, good action results in sattva. And by the way, sattva results in
peace of mind.
Good action. Thought and action are not unrelated. Right? Thought is the seed of action. So, and the fruit of rajas is pain, and the fruit of pain is rajas. And the fruit of tamas is ignorance, and the fruit of ignorance is tamas. So we say self-fulfilling prophecy, if anybody's ever heard the term. You sow a seed, and the fruit of that seed will be different from the seed or the same as the seed. Yeah. So this relationship that's being discussed, of course, it's a logical and natural relationship, and it wants to be understood. And is it possible to break it? Yeah, it is. We have evidence of it. We see it within ourselves. It's possible to break the cycle. But understand the tendency will be to continue the cycle. The one who has done the inner engineering, that's the fellow that's called Satguru. The concept of inner engineering is just this, it's exactly this. You don't have to go there in order to do it. We do it right here. Inner engineering. It's a very good term for it, right? Because you're doing the engineering work. You're creating an inner environment where sattva is being cultivated primarily. And the fruit of sattva is good action. So, and how to bring sattva? Through good action. Good action. And so the tendency will be there for something else. The mood will be something else, but there's a capacity within you, and there's a resolve that says, I'm going to get up. I'm going to read this book 5 pages every day. I'm going to do it. I'm going to meditate today. So like this, these resolves. And then when we're in the thick of it, we see that a moment of rajas is not pure rajas. Rajas is dominant, but there's still sattva there, and there's the capacity to bring it back forward. Swami Chinmayananda, he adds his commentary. He says, in this stanza, Krishna, the great conversationalist, is summarizing again what he's already mentioned here, and he explores the fruit of good actions, they say, is sattvic and pure. If we carefully analyze, we'll find that thought is the father, mother of all action. Thoughts are the seeds sown, and actions are the harvest gathered. Seeds of weeds cannot but produce weeds, but thoughts can manifest only, bad thoughts can manifest only as bad actions. And the negative actions in the outside world fattens the wrong tendencies of the mind and thus multiply the inward agitations. It is therefore true in the logic of our philosophy, and extremely true in the logic of our worldly experiences too, that if one is to live a quiet, contented, and cheerful life of service and devotion, of love and kindness, of mercy and compassion, and live thus a, quote, good life, certainly such a life indicates the sattvic nature of one's own mind. And also such a life cultivates sattva. And such an individual living such a noble life must necessarily grow in his inward purity. And that's the statement of logic, right? Of course so. Of course so. It may be asked how one can start becoming good when one is already so bad at present. And again, that good, bad can sound judgmental. It's not. So we can say when one is so far away from happiness at present, how can one cultivate this quality which allows one to experience the happiness that they are when they have no happiness at present? Like that. So, and Swamiji gives the formula. He says, if actions are the expressions of thoughts, and if the existing mental nature is negative, how can we expect such an individual to bring about a change in the climatic conditions within his bosom, within the inner? It says, all religions the world over answer this question in their injunction and insistence that seekers of truth, devotees of the Lord, votaries of culture, all must live ethically a pure, moral, and noble life. No doubt, disciplining the mind and changing the quality of the thoughts is not an easy job, as we just discussed. But to change the type of actions and the discipline, our external movements, is relatively easy. Therefore, to practice goodness, to discipline our behavior, to set the good standard, to act the good Samaritan, and all the beginning of this are all the beginning of this great scheme of self-revival. When noble action is undertaken, soon it becomes a habit, and this external habit of discipline tends to discipline the mind. So it's really resolving and then putting into practice, serve, love, give, purify, meditate. Realize that's obviously why you were leading that kirtan this morning. It's that. And even when our moods are still present with us and we feel the urge to this or that, or to avoid this or that, still with the reminder and with the commitment of yourself, it's possible to live it. And then you see, you make mistakes along the way, quote unquote mistakes. Right?
So think about the resolve, and because the mind wants to combat you in a way, it doesn't want you to get that. And then with consistency, it caves and then becomes the new.
It becomes a habit. And what is happening inside, this is the fruit of the cultivation of sattva. So the mind not fighting what's beneficial is sattva. Right? The mind fighting what's beneficial is tamas or rajas. So yes, you'll naturally see this. And so you have this inner battle, and you have to be careful with it. You need to be firm, just like with the child, because we are dealing with our own child, our own mind. So just like with the child, when the child is doing this or doing that, you say no, and you don't laugh at them doing it. You just say no. And this is what you have to do in your own inner. And you set a resolve, right? And then, mistakes happen, and then you continue with it. You don't tell yourself how terrible and stupid you are and how you can never do anything right and all of this. That's not beneficial. You don't. This inner fight is a fight that's won with constant awareness and supervision and we call it love. We call it love. Love is sweet sometimes, but mostly love is correcting. Real love is mostly correcting. And since we're being corrected almost all the time, you can know that the foundation of this world is obviously love. Hence the insistence in all cultures that from childhood, elders must be respected, authority should be obeyed, lies must not be uttered, scriptures are to be read, education must be undertaken, cleanliness must be practiced, etc. When these are enforced upon the child, it perhaps takes them all as varieties of tyranny under which it is compelled to live. In the long run, however, these rules bring about unconsciously a discipline in the minds of children. A thrilling joy, a mental serenity, a state of minimum agitation, a capacity to direct this mental strength of such a dynamic mind towards any single-pointed self-application. These are all indicated as the fruits of good actions when the mind grows in sattva guna and purity. Passions and agitations are the impurities in the mind. Bad actions increase them. Good actions, by their very nature, quieten the mind and sap its passions. And then he speaks of the other two. We can finish. The fruit of rajas is pain. This one, he says, this phrase only supports our commentary of the previous one. It's already been said that the rajas is of the nature of passion, giving rise to insatiable desires. We see this too, and this is this insanity. This comes up often also. What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over.
And expecting different results. So, but in the state of rajas, when rajas is dominant, this is what's happening. We can testify to this one as well. Money will never make you happy, but in the state of rajas, the demand from rajas will always be to have more because the happiness isn't there yet. So whatever it is, sex, anything, whatever it is. Insatiable.
Yes.
Insatiable. It can't be sated. It can't be satisfied. The thirst can't be satisfied. You can drink as much as you want, but along the way, now the rajas is continuing to increase, you see. Mm-hmm. Because the thirst gets stronger and the anger gets stronger and everything. Yeah. We don't have to look further than our dear Donald Trump in order to see how it works. So, no, we have beautiful examples all around us, and we have the work inside of us. So thank God for all the examples. And he said, oh my God, the world would be so much better if this terrible person weren't here, but it's not true, because that terrible person has to be here for you to have the example.
Yes, exactly.
To see how it plays out, right?
Plus, then we wouldn't look as good in
rajas. Yeah, you have to zip it on the inside. And finally, ignorance is the fruit of tamas. That dullness in action, heedlessness, and illusion are the symptoms of tamas in our subtle body, has already been indicated. Here it's said that tamas veils our discriminating capacity and foils our attempts at understanding and rightly judging the world of things and beings and the world of happenings around us. And we talk about this. We all are judging the things happening to us.
No, I'm not.
Right? And who wants to take a shot at what does it mean to rightly judge what's happening to you?
To look and see if it's beneficial or not to others or yourself.
Would you
Yourself.
Would you please read number 3?
Each day, accept everything as coming from God. That one?
That one, thank you. That's right judgment.
Not fall into these.
That's beneficial judgment. Yeah, that's benefit. Right. They did, he did, she did. And then that leads you to, why did they do that?
To learn.
Well, they don't understand me. Oh my God.
I better go explain it to them.
Yeah, I better fix this. They need to understand me, doggone it.
One I've been trying to implement in the past few months is if something happens and even if you're positive that it's not your fault and it was done to you, not looking at it in that way in any way, because if you look at it from the perspective of what could I have done or what can I do to change to make things better, then you're in a place of
which is better. But cultivating a reflective inner environment is really required. Cultivating a reflective inner environment is required. Because otherwise you remain in the heat of the battle, in the passion of the battle. You remain in the place of rajas and then tamas alternating. How do you do? So recognize this is a school. Recognize this is a school. You're in school and you're learning. What are you learning? Saint training. You're learning to be free. You're learning to be happy. It's all you want. So it's obviously what you have to be learning. And so every moment the lessons are coming, the lessons in the tests. Every moment. And who is the teacher? My own capital S self, the Lord of the universe, is the teacher. And so everything that happens, take a moment and see if you can understand the lesson. Don't try to make it up. Allow yourself to observe the situation. Ask the question, what is the lesson here? What am I to learn from this? Cultivate this humility to come out of this little self long enough when something happens to ask. The more you find the capacity to do this and you actually do it, the more fulfilling is your life. It's an order of magnitude. The more you discover the love that's guiding you into the light, and the sooner you're free of suffering. But whenever you try, if you look at these gunas, again, whenever you try to work it out yourself and say, no, I can figure it out, which one of these is that? It's rajas. And whenever you say, no, they just don't like me, tamas. So if you're to cultivate sattva, then you're really doing it in the moments. And the way you do this is you really, so you engage in sadhana, you read, you make sure that you're doing your daily reading, you join all the satsangs. If you're in the world, then satsang is coming from scriptures, and then there's a lot online of resource as well. But resolve, remember that the two factors that you're working with that will bring you out of the madness is the discernment, the power of the intellect, and the light. And of course, the third factor is will, power of will. The stronger you resolve something, then the more quickly you'll be successful. It doesn't make any difference if it's a worldly resolve or spiritual resolve. You already see that when the lethargy is here and tamas in that early morning, and you resolve strongly to get up, then you get up, right? But if the willpower is not so strong, then you don't. You see the difference in willpower and how that works. So intellect, willpower, and the light. Tuning to the light, connecting to the light. And how strongly are you connecting yourself to the light? That's a matter of will. And how clearly do you see the need to connect to the light? That's a matter of discernment, discretion.
The light is always strong.
The light is always strong.
So cool, because it just shows that, like, if you know that you don't need, or the coffee is hurting you, but you want it anyway and you keep doing it, how that relates to everything.
How it relates to everything. It leaks across everything. And therefore it's cultivation of, depending upon the situation, more rajas and more tamas by the action. But the madness has to stop, and the only way for it to stop is you have to break the cycle. Somebody else can't do it. You have to do it. This is where this individualized work is. Right? We each have to break it. Somebody else can lead us there, can guide us, support us, etc. And of course, there's not an other anyway. But then you have the opportunity to break it. And of course, it's not easy to break it. We hear that. It's not easy to break it. But break it you must do. And break it you can, and break it you shall. Sounds like John F. Kennedy. I don't know if anybody recognizes that speech, but it's like, okay, Lord. John F. Kennedy, okay. But really, you can break it. You must break it. And you will break it. Eventually you will. So do it now. Resolve now. Resolve now. Okay, let's close. Final prayers and arati. Short version. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukameva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshiyamamritata Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukameva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshiyamamritata Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukameva Bandhanan Mrityur Mukshiyamamritata Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, let us abide in thee forever and ever. On below Satguru Shivananda Maharaj Ki, and for all the saints and sages of all the traditions. Oh, gosh.